Hi, friends. It's Will, and I'm here with another tarot reading for you. And today we're going to ask the question, what is coming up for you this summer? So we're talking summer 2025. I've pulled out three different decks here. I've got the Squid Cake Tarot, I've got the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition, and I've got the Star Spinner. Let's get some smoke on these cards, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to do a 9-card box spread using the Squid Cake Tarot for each of the readings. But before we get to that, I want to pull some significator cards, and I think we'll use the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition for that. And then I'm adding in the Star Spinner Tarot here because in case we need to pull any clarifiers, I want to have that deck available to us for that. All right, so we've got a little smoke on the cards here. Let me pull this away. We will use it later. And this away, the Star Spinner, we will use that later. I have, of course, as always, shuffled the decks thoroughly. But let's shuffle the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition just a little bit more so that you can see I'm doing it. And then I'll pull out 3 cards from this, and those will represent each of our readings today to answer the question, what is coming up summer 2025? Okay. Summer 2025. What is coming up for you? Let's knock on these, cut the deck. All right, pile 1, pile 2, pile 3. And I'm pairing these up as well with a couple of crystals. I've chosen selenite for pile 1, the orca agate for pile 2, and tourmaline for pile 3. So that's a heavy one. Let's see what we've got here. Pile 1 with selenite. Ace of Cups for your summer. Summer of love, perhaps? New relationship, new feelings, feeling nourished, being fulfilled. All of that could come up for you here. Ace of Cups. So that's pile 1. If you're looking for an Ace of Cups summer. Pile 2. Knight of Cups. Okay, so we've got some romance heading towards us, it looks like. This is your knight in shining armor, potentially. This is an emotional journey. This is a romantic journey. This could just be a journey by water. Maybe you're planning on doing some traveling that involves traveling over a body of water this summer. That could be Knight of Cups. And pile 3, 9 of Pentacles. Maybe you've got some projects planned this summer and you're expecting to have them come to fruition. This would be more independent, working hard, getting a lot of stuff done, getting results, lots of good results, getting to indulge in some luxury. This would be maybe vacation and spending time at like a nice resort, drinking wine with friends, that kind of stuff. 9 of Pentacles. So, please choose your pile. Of course, timestamps are below as per usual. Ace of Cups with selenite, pile 1. Knight of Cups with orca agate, pile 2. Or 9 of Pentacles with tourmaline, pile 3. Let's go check and see what's coming up for you this summer. I'll see you in your reading. Okay, group 1, welcome to your reading. You chose Ace of Cups with the selenite here. I'm just going to prop that Ace of Cups right up here in the corner. I hope you can see it okay. I can see it just fine. And I'll put the crystal to the side over here. I've got the Squid Cake Tarot de Marseille. I've shuffled it. I've got the whole deck. Let me do a little more of a shuffle here. And we're going to lay out a 9-card box spread to answer the question, what's coming up for you this summer? So since you've got Ace of Cups as the significator for your summer reading, you should be probably anticipating some beginning, some new potential that's coming up for you. Those are what the aces mean, right? Well, they mean multiple things, but on the one hand, they can mean sort of everything that their suit involves, right? But also new beginnings, new potentials with their particular suit. And so cups, as we know, are emotions, feelings, relationships, things that nourish you, things that fulfill you, usually things that make you feel good and healthy and happy, right? Think about what goes in a cup. I think of water and wine. Those are the first thing that comes to mind for me. Maybe you have something different, but think about like how your favorite beverage makes you feel. That's what I think of when cups come up, right? All right, so let's lay out 9 cards here in a box spread. And let me just see, I want to make sure you can see all of this. I think you will be able to. Okay, so let's set this deck aside. We will come back to it if needed, although if I'm going to pull clarifiers, I want to use the star spinner. Okay, let's flip over some cards. So, Temperance is the first thing we see. 9 of Batons. Interruption. 6 of Coins. Expansion. 5 of Coins. Disruption. 4 of Coins. Stability. So the center card in the spread is 4 of Coins. 6 of Cups. Memories, nostalgia, pathway towards happiness. Queen of Batons. The Sun, friendship. 6 of Batons, collaboration, victory, moving forward, moving ahead. That's good to see at the end of the spread. So let's talk about these cards for a bit. I want to look first at the corners. These are going to give us context for what's coming up. And so we see Temperance, 6 of Coins, Queen of Batons, and 6 of Batons. Temperance is about finding balance, right? You can see how the figure is pouring back and forth liquid. In this case, it's coffee. I mean, it looks like coffee to me at least. So starting off this summer, I imagine you're going to be feeling like you need to find some balance. I suspect that has to do with like you've been working too much, you've been doing too much, summer's coming, you need a little break, right? You need a little vacation from stuff. 6 of Coins is about expanding your well-being. So you need that break because maybe you felt like you haven't been able to take care of yourself in the way that has been needed recently. And so you want to expand your sense of well-being. Queen of Batons is the only court card that shows up in the reading here. So I am inclined to think that this card represents you. Queen of Batons is someone who tends to be social, who's likes to be with other people, has a big passion for life, like really loves life. Someone who likes excitement, someone who enjoys being stimulated in different kinds of ways, right? Intellectually, emotionally, socially, all of that. And Six of Batons is our last corner card. Six of Batons is about victory, going forward into the future, whatever's next, like probably into the fall, I would think, since we're reading on summer here, fall would come next. Coming into the fall, like ready for whatever it is that's going to hit you when fall comes around, whatever it is you have planned after the end of the summer. So, the context I think for this reading is someone who's needing to find some balance, feels like they've kind of been through the ringer a little bit, and it's time to invest a little bit in themselves, but also someone who maybe needs to reach out to friends. And so, and I'm saying that because of the sun, which we'll get to more in more detail in a moment. Um, but if you think about like, if when I was describing the Queen of Batons, you're like, that's not me. I'm not a really social person. I'm not the life of the party. I don't really want to go out and be with people a whole lot. Consider that if this isn't describing who you are, maybe it's describing an aspect or a facet of your personality that it would be good for you to tap into during the summer, right? If we think back to the Six of Coins and expanding your well being, could being a little more social, if you're not particularly a social person, could that help to expand your sense of well being, right? That would be something to think about. All right, so that's sort of the context that I would read for this spread. Now we're going to read the columns. And so left column is beginning of the summer, middle column is middle of the summer, and right column is towards the end of the summer. So let's look at those. So beginning of the summer, you're coming in here feeling like you need to achieve a better sense of balance. You need some stability, some healing, maybe. We know with Temperance, it's the 14 card of the major arcana, and so the one that comes right before that is 13, and of course 13 is death, right? So Temperance is the healing that comes after death. That's what I always say with this card. So maybe you're feeling like you need, after a big transition or transformation, you're like, it's time to settle down, it's time to take care of myself. Instead of pushing myself forward constantly, now is a time to sort of sit with what I've got, right? And so the Five of Coins, meaning disruption, often, I think you're coming into this feeling like your well being has been maybe a little bit disrupted, right? Like you don't feel like you have all the energy, all the resources, all the time that you wish that you had, that you need to sort of thrive for yourself. And at the beginning of the summer, you're going to sort of be feeling that way. That's what I'm reading from these three cards. We already talked about the Queen of Batons a bit, so let's go on to the middle column here. So around the middle of summer, Nine of Batons is going to say that even though you've maybe felt kind of tired, like maybe even a little bit wounded, we could say, there's a break from that. You have achieved, you have manifested, you have managed to give yourself a break from everything that's been going on for you prior to the beginning of the summer, okay? And that's good because you needed it, right? This is a positive, I would say, this Nine of Batons here. It's allowed you to achieve some stability in your well-being, right? That's our Four of Coins. You're able to hold on to what you need to feel good about yourself, to feel like you're thriving. The Sun has to do with friendship, especially in this deck, because it's a Marseille deck, or a Marseille style deck, we should say. And so I would expect around the middle of the summer, you are doing a lot of activities with friends. Maybe you're making a new friend. I would especially think that because we had Ace of Coins as your significator card here. It is possible, just peeking ahead, that whatever this friendship is, that it could develop into something more than just a friendship. And I'm looking at the Six of Cups, which we'll get to in just a moment. But I think middle summer, we're talking more like not necessarily a romance, but a deep connection with someone, right? A good, deep, strong beginning of a connection with someone. Or it could be a reconnection if it's like If you've got someone in mind who could be this friend who you're spending some quality time with over the summer, maybe it's just a reconnecting with that person, probably headed towards a situation where the relationship strengthens and deepens, right? So that's the middle of the summer. Towards the end of the summer, you're going to have an expansion of your well being, right? Six is about expansion, it's a number of perfection. And so, really good things coming. You're going to feel like you can give more to other people, like you can be more generous with your time, not necessarily money, although it could be that too, but like with your time, with your energy, with your interest in other people, you'll feel like you have more, just more to give, right, to other people. So that's a really good thing to see here with the Six of Coins. Those 6 coins, reading top to bottom, turn in then to 6 cups, right? And so we know that in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, the 6 of Cups can mean memories, it can mean nostalgia. In the Marseille system, I think of these 2 sets of 3 cups as representing a kind of path, right? A pathway forward, and you can take steps up this path that's covered in these beautiful flowers and leaves and foliage, right? And so this is where I'm thinking that sort of walking forward, maybe this Ace of Cups, friendship in the sun, is developing further. It's moving forward in a cupsy kind of way. So meaning in terms of its emotion, its feelings, its sense of fulfillment, and all of that good stuff, right? And so something that's maybe more practical deepens, right? Practical meaning coins deepens into cups because cups hold things. They're not just exchanged like coins are, right? And so all of that good stuff leads you to 6 batons. We can see a really clear transformation here of 6 coins, 6 cups, and 6 batons, right? Coins become cups, which are deeper, become batons or wands in other decks, which is about your fire getting going again, your like passion getting going again, ready to ride into victory, ready to work with others, ready to collaborate and build stuff, like ready to sort of do, take action, do like work kind of stuff more, right? A lot of the cards we're seeing here are more receptive, non-active cards, right? The coins and the cups are that way. But then we've got ending the spread, the 9 of batons, but then also ending the spread, the 6 of batons, which are more like active kinds of cards, right? The suits that are more active. So I would expect a period of rest, recovery, hanging out with friends, or maybe deepening one particular relationship with one particular friend. That's going to really prepare you well, I think, for going into the fall, whatever you have planned going into the fall. So now that we've read the columns, let's read the rows across. And so the top row will be about what you're thinking about. The middle row is more about like what's happening, what you're facing. And the bottom row will be more about motivations, maybe unconscious motivations, like things that are driving the whole situation, whether you're totally aware of them or not, okay? And so in the top row, we have got what you're thinking about, which is needing to find balance, needing to take a break, needing to interrupt the flow of whatever you've been doing, the patterns that you've established previously. It's time to stop those, at least temporarily. Why? Because you need to expand your well-being, right? You need to recharge, so to speak. So that's what you're consciously thinking about. That's your goal. That's what you're aiming for, right? What's actually happening is you've got 5 coins, a disruption of your well-being turning into 4. And so stabilizing. Things are actually stabilizing. That makes perfect sense coming underneath temperance over here, that you're trying to find balance. That's what you're thinking about. And are you doing it? Yep, sure are. Sure are finding balance. That's what's at the whole center of the entire spread we have today. And where does this end up with the Six of Cups? So after finding balance, you're ready to set forth on a new path, right? And it's a very fulfilling kind of path, perhaps one that involves deepening a relationship. Great. In the bottom row, we've got the Queen of Batons, which represents either who you see yourself as now or the sort of facet of your personality that you should be trying to tap into this summer. And I think it has to do really with spending time with other people, right? With socializing, with deepening your connections to others. That's how I would read the Queen of Batons looking over here at these figures on the Sun card. And working together, perhaps with this person, or maybe just recharging with this person so you can work with other people in the fall to ride off into victory, right? When I see the Six of Batons, I'm always thinking of, on the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the card, there's the person on the rider and there's lots of people following them. And so I have that vision in my head as I'm looking at this card underneath the Six of Cups, which is the path. And like, I'm imagining that very happy, victorious rider riding off through the Six of Cups path into whatever comes forward after the end of the summer. So this is a beautiful reading. I think you've got really great stuff coming for you this summer. I think you're going to get to recharge. I think you're going to get to take a little bit of a break. And I'm envious. This sounds like a really good time. So I don't really know that I need any clarifiers, but I've got the Star Spinner Tarot out here, and so let's pull some cards from it. And I guess if I were going to ask any question about this spread, I would want to know a little bit more about what's going on with this friendship situation, right? Because we had the Ace of Cups as the significator for the reading, Six of Cups came up, the Sun card came up, number 19 of the majors, and I want to know a little bit more about how this friendship socializing situation fits into the summer. So let's pull 3 cards from the Star Spinner Tarot to get more information on this friendship situation, this Ace of Cups to Six of Cups via the Sun deal. Okay, let's look at that. I'll just lay out 3 cards on top of the rest. All right. Can you believe it? Queen of Wands, Queen of Batons, so she's showing up again. So if you don't identify at all with the Queen of Wands, try to channel her this summer. If you already identify with her to some extent, then there you go. That's it, right? Whenever I tend to be a pretty introverted person most of the time, whenever I'm going to a social situation, I like to think about the Queen of Wands right before that and just try to bring a little bit of her with me to the party, right? Wow, it's the Ace of Cups. Okay, so we've already seen these cards, but now the images can give us more information, right? We've got Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups. So the Queen of Wands is looking at the Ace of Cups. What is this? 6 swords. Moving on. This could be travel by water, because the 6 of swords is about it's about moving the mind, right? It's about finding harmony of mind. But in the image, in most decks, including this one, we've got people, figures in a boat, traveling over water. So I do, and you know, if we're thinking about the summer, the context of summer, water stuff comes up a lot in the summer for many folks. So like it could be that you are meeting this friend on a lake or at the beach or like something like that is happening. If we want to read the card more metaphorically and less literally, I would think about like if this is a friend from the past who you've had some kind of conflict with. I say conflict because of the swords. Maybe you are figuring out how to communicate with that person again and moving on from like emotional baggage that the two of you might have had. That would make sense with the Six of Swords popping up here. If it's not a friend from the past who you've maybe had some friction or conflict with, you know, the Six of Swords doesn't have to be about conflict. It can just be, sixes is a perfect number. As I've said, we've seen lots of sixes. In fact, now I'm just realizing we have all of them from two different decks, but we've got the Six of Coins, Six of Cups, Six of Batons, Six of Swords coming up. So 6 is the key number, it seems, for this reading. And now I'm realizing that 6 of the major arcana is the Lovers, right? The Lovers card is number 6. 5 is the Hierophant. 6 is the Lovers. And so now I'm thinking like we don't actually see the Lovers card, but maybe there's an indication here to think about number 6 of the major arcana, since we've got 4 sixes on the table. And that would also make sense with Ace of Cups and Six of Cups that came up earlier. So this could be a friendship, as I thought earlier, a friendship deepening into a more romantic kind of relationship. That is a possibility, but not definite, right? Because I'm not actually seeing the Lover's card come up on the table. Okay, cool. I think you've got a great summer ahead of you. I hope you liked the reading. Let me know what stood out, what resonated for you. Please consider liking and subscribing if you would like to help me grow the channel. I would very much appreciate it. Have a great day. Have a wonderful summer. Enjoy it. And I will see you in your next reading. Hello, Group 2, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Knight of Cups paired with the Orca Agate. And so I'll just set that aside. Let's put it over here, and I'm going to prop our Knight of Cups up so that they can look down over the whole reading. I can see the Knight very well. I hope you can see them too. Here is the Squid Cake Tarot. Let me give that a little shuffle so that you can see that I'm doing it. I'm going to lay out 9 cards to answer the question, what's coming up for you this summer? What can you expect this summer? What should you prepare for, think about, anticipate? Summer 2025. And you chose Knight of Cups, so maybe you're like hoping for a relationship to start, a romance, a summer fling, maybe something deeper than a fling. With the Knight of Cups, I always think of romance. They're the most romantic of the court cards. Knights also represent a journey, so it could be a journey by water. What else to think of Knight of Cups? More like just an emotional journey, like if there's some emotional feeling thing, or creative journey. That could be the other way of thinking about it. All right, let's lay out our box spread. And let me just make sure. Okay, I think you can see these. All right. Okay. So we'll turn the cards over one at a time quickly, and then we'll read the spread in a couple of different configurations. 10 of Cups is starting us off. This is happiness. So starting with happiness, it can also mean an excess of emotions. 8 Swords, defensiveness, maybe feeling kind of stuck. trying to figure out how you're going to grow. Ace of Swords, a decision, sharpness of mind. Queen of Swords. It's our next court card after Knight of Cups. Queen of Swords, often known as a judge kind of figure. Page of Coins, our next court card. Page of Coins in the center of this. So maybe starting some new practical thing. Ten of Swords, okay. Maybe some overthinking. Maybe a really complex situation and you have to see all the different sides of it. King of Swords, so we've got a couple here, a King and Queen of Swords. The Chariot, going forward successfully, taking action, moving, getting a reward for what you've done. Three of Cups, friendship, bringing something, creating something new, some new emotionally fulfilling something or other. So let's start by reading the corners, and the corners are going to give us the context for the whole spread, right? So they're going to describe the context for your summer. So we've got 10 of Cups, feeling very happy, I would imagine. With the 10 of Cups, we can think that you're going into the summer like pretty content, pretty fulfilled with yourself. Things are looking pretty good. There's not too much sense of like trouble on the way. The thing about the 10 of Cups, to some extent, it is sort of the most optimistic and positive card, at least of the minor arcana in the tarot. And so I always like to read all of my cards and with as big a range as possible, right? So I want to say, here are the best things we can get out of the card, but here also are sort of the things to watch out for, right? Or the tougher things that we might see in the card. And so with the 10 of Cups, it might be a little hard to find that, but I think the thing with it is nobody's life is ever a 10 of Cups life always and forever, right? The 10 of Cups then I think also can indicate that like things look really good or they're really good in this particular moment, but you know, if you're at the top, at some point things have to sort of fall a little bit, to think about kind of Wheel of Fortune sort of metaphor, right? It can be dangerous at the top, right? So things look really good, but that means that there might be some challenges ahead, right, to maintain or improve your 10 of Cups situation. So that's where we're starting. Ace of Swords is the next card in the top right corner. This is about maybe having a new idea or having to make a decision about something, and it may not be a particularly easy decision. It's one where you'd really want to think about it, use your mind, weigh the evidence before sort of cutting into whatever action you're going to take. It can represent a victory of some kind. And of course, all of the aces represent something new, some new potential, something new is coming in. So you've got your 10 of Cups, but something new and potentially prickly or cutting or conflict, something new is coming into your 10 of Cups situation. Which brings us to King of Swords in the bottom left corner. And so this likely, I think, represents a person, either you or a facet of your personality, or someone in your life or a facet of their personality, like a particular way that they're behaving this summer. And so King of Swords is someone who is really good at making rational decisions. They have a powerful mind. They are smart. They are intellectual. They enjoy discussions and or arguments with others, right? And so that can go either way with the King of Swords. And I would say to some extent, all of this is true with the Queen of Swords too, in a slightly different way. And so we'll get to her in a moment. But with both of these swords court cards, they like to, they're the kind of people who might sort of argue for the fun of it. Does that make sense? Right? Like, and if they're not careful, the fun part might go away, right? If they sort of hit one another with a word that is a little too close to the bone, that fun communication can turn or morph into actual conflict, right? And so I'm thinking about that alongside the Ace of Swords card that has come up. Like, somebody might say something that maybe they didn't know was going to bother the other person, but it actually did, even if they didn't intend it that way. That is the idea that comes across here with this King of Swords. Like, the King of Swords thinks of themselves often as an authority, like they want to be in charge, right? They're a king. And if there's anyone or anything that's sort of undermining that, they might resent it. The King of Swords tends to want other people to defer to their intellectual authority. And if someone doesn't do that or challenges it, the king has a sword. They can sort of fight back, right? I think it would take a lot to get a King of Swords person riled up like that, because the King of Swords tends to be calm, rational, reasonable, right? But if the situation sort of got a little bit out of hand, then that it could snowball, so to speak, right? But we're ending here with Three of Cups is the last card. And so Three of Cups is about emotional growth. It's in some people call it the birth card. And so I would never predict like a birth, and certainly I wouldn't do it in a YouTube video, right? But I just will note that there's the Page of Coins. Pages can represent children, and the Three of Cups can represent two cups, creating a third cup, right? And so not that this represents an actual birth necessarily, or at all, but it can represent two people who create something that is emotionally fulfilling together, okay? Right, whatever that might be, like the growth of a relationship, the deepening of a relationship. So let's tie together the context so far just from looking at these four cards in the corner, and then we'll get into reading the columns and rows. And so I would say here we're starting off really happy, right? But there's maybe some conflict, a decision that gets made. Somebody communicates something that turned out to be a little sharper maybe than was intended, which causes a little conflict, right? But it's all fine in the end, right? We get to Three of Cups. There's some growth that comes out of whatever conflict might come up over the course of the summer, right? So maybe a little bit of friction in a relationship, but I don't think it's going to last. And I think at the end of the summer, you'll both be better off for it because you'll have worked through it and have had the opportunity then to grow from it, right? Okay, so let's read the columns now. Left column is beginning of the summer, middle is middle of the summer, right column is nearer to the end of the summer. So first column is really easy because we've got 10 of Cups, the happy family, right? And who's in the happy family? King and Queen of Swords, right? And we think of them as a family or a couple because they're coming from the same suit of swords. That's easy. Middle column, we've got 8 of Swords. So something happens in the middle of the summer that's going to make one or both of you feel defensive, stuck, like not totally sure how do we see our way forward from this. I will say that with the 8 of Swords, because it's swords, it can be something that's really like in the mind, which doesn't mean it's not real, but it does mean that it's not necessarily an objective reality or fact, right? It has to do with with the thoughts, with the beliefs that one or both of you are feeling. And so, um, keep that in mind. It probably has to do with how you're communicating with each other, rather than with like some material reality. I will say that the movement from cups to swords, which you know what, let's leave that. We'll get into that when we read the rows. So let's continue with the row. Eight of Swords is some not super pleasant stuff probably coming in the middle of the summer. And it may have something to do with whoever this Page of Coins is. So this could be a person. If there's like a young person in your life, they are at the center of all of this, right? Some young person, or if not actually a young person, it's someone who needs, like, who's inexperienced, untested, hesitant, and sort of needs somebody else to support them in some way, right? So like a page could even represent an elderly person if it's someone um, who sort of needs assistance in their everyday life, right? Someone who can't get along, who's not independent, right? Whatever that might be. Whether it's a child, it could be someone really of any age. And so this person may be contributing to the Eight of Swords situation, the feeling you're feeling stuck, right? Why? Because of something having to do with this Page of Coins figure, right? The Chariot, I'm thinking because it's summer, I'm thinking literally it could mean like a road trip, right? Like there's driving that is happening at some point in the summer, moving around a lot. But more figuratively, the Chariot would represent sort of taking the reins, so to speak, and finding a way to fix the problem, being successful to move on from the problem. So eights are often about movement. Eight of Swords then is about a problem with moving, feeling stuck, right? And then the Chariot is saying, but you're getting moving again, right? It's getting going again. You're finding a solution to your problem. You're figuring out a way to move on from it. When we come to the final column on the right, and we're thinking about closer towards the end of the summer, we've got this problem that has maybe not gone away yet, but the 8 coming to the ace means it's decreased, or at least it seems like it's decreased, right? But then we come up to this big 10 of Swords. And so one way of thinking about this would be that ace to 10 is really happening fast. A movement from ace to 10 is as quick as things can go. And so there might be some development with the problem towards the end of the summer where it's like, wow, that happened quickly. But the 10 suggests the problem ends, right? 10s are resolutions, completions, it's over. Was it good? No, but you did get through it, and now it is finished. And sort of now the wound can start to heal, whatever that might be. And so then we get to our Three of Cups, right? You get to grow after the conflict, right? So let's read now the rows across. And so the top row will be what you're thinking about. The middle row is what's facing you. And the bottom row is sort of what's underneath it all, maybe things that you're not totally aware of, right? Things that are driving the situation that you may not have full knowledge of because they're underneath. So what are you thinking about? You're thinking about the way that beginning the summer in a very happy way has transformed, unfortunately, into some kind of conflict, some feeling defensive, feeling a little bit stuck, right? And you're trying to get these 8 swords to turn into just one. So you're trying to find a solution to the problem. You're trying to figure out what you can decide to do to have victory over whatever this problem is, this conflict that's coming up, right? So that's what you're thinking. What's actually happening? What are you doing? Well, I'm noticing here we've got the Queen of Swords, which is either you or someone in your life, and they're not looking at the Page of Coins. Like the Queen of Swords and Page of Coins are not looking at each other. They're looking in opposite directions. And so I wonder if there could be some disconnect between these two people, right? If whoever the Queen of Swords is isn't paying close enough attention to the Page of Coins, isn't looking at them, is tired of looking at them, it has other interests, whatever it might be. And so the Page of Coins is over here, hanging out with their coin in their hand and looking at the 10 swords. So looking at a problem, looking at some kind of conflict. And so I wonder if this Page of Coins is going to get into trouble of some kind because the Queen of Swords isn't sort of watching them, paying enough attention to them. That's what I would think is the thing that might happen. And so then underneath all of that, we've got what is driving the situation. I say driving, of course, because the Chariot, right? And so underneath, we've got King of Swords who's looking at the Chariot. So the King of Swords is either paying a lot of attention to a literal vehicle, right? Like working on the car or buying a car or doing something with a car, driving a lot. Or metaphorically thinking about like how to be more successful, how to publicly move forward, move on, maybe in like a career or something like that, some public kind of pursuit that they're doing. With King of Swords, it might be an intellectual kind of pursuit. And then looking forward to this emotional growth. So I do want to really push hard on the fact that the last card, the ninth card I've laid out here, is the Three of Cups. So even though I know we're seeing some swords here, and they're all kind of grouped together, which is kind of nice because it means like the problem is sort of focused in one area, right? It's not like they're spread out everywhere and you have to like try to track down a bunch of little problems everywhere. It's like, no, it's all over here. We know where the issue is, right? But at the bottom of it, at the root of it, at the end of everything, it will be overcome. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. Work through it. Work on communicating. We do have a lot of swords here. And so focusing on how you are using your words with one another, I think is going to be really super duper important. Although another thing to consider that I'm just thinking of now as I wrap this up is with the Page of Coins, whoever that is in your life, the Page of Coins is more about like hands-on touch, right? And less about words. So if this Page of Coins is troubled in some way, as I suspect they might be because they've got 8 swords above them and 10 swords in front of them, if you're just using your words all the time with them, the Page of Coins isn't going to totally understand that, right? The Page of Coins needs like a pat on the back. They need a hug, right? You can't just tell them you love them, for example. You're going to have to use gesture, embodied gesture action to show them that you love them, assuming that that is something that is relevant in your particular case. And I know, of course, that will be different for all of you, whoever are watching this video. But that would be something to think about. You know, the King and Queen of Swords are going to come at things very rationally, very intellectually, and they're going to use words. The Page of Coins, that's not going to make a lot of sense to them. They're more grounded, they're more intuitive, they need embodied contact, touch, right? In order to communicate. And so that could be a conflict that comes up between these different characters, right, or personalities. Okay, let's pull the Star Spinner Tarot out. I've got it here, and let's see. I want to know more about the Page of Coins. That's who I'm most curious about. You know, they're at the center of the reading, and I want to know what's going on with this Page of Coins personality this summer. And so I'm just going to pull 3 cards from the Star Spinner Tarot and we'll read them as a little bit of a clarifier on what's going on with the Page of Coins Summer 2025. Okay. 4 Cups. So maybe some apathy. Maybe this page is like a little depressed or lonely, or there's something really great there for them and they're not seeing it. Maybe they're bored. I think over the summer with kids, I think of boredom, or with young people, well, or even adults sometimes, right? 3 Wands. So waiting? Apathy, maybe some waiting. Like maybe they've done something and they're waiting to see if it's going to pay off. Ooh, and the Chariot again. So wanting to be independent, wanting to be successful publicly, maybe wanting to get a driver's license. Now that's coming up because we've got Chariot, Chariot, and with that page in the middle, like maybe this is someone who, like a young person who wants to drive again, or an old person who's not allowed to drive again, and it's making them feel a little apathetic, or they're waiting to see, like, is something going to change in the situation with the 3 of Wands, right? This little fairy figure, adorable little fairy figure, is sort of looking off into the distance, and they're like, I've got my 3 wands, now what, right? Is it gonna work? Is the thing I'm trying to do gonna do, or no? That's the sense that I get here, right? It's like wanting to move, but not moving, but waiting, being apathetic, being a little bit bored, trying to see if the thing is gonna happen or not. Okay, let me know in the comments what you thought of this reading, what struck a chord with you, what resonated, and please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to help me grow the channel. I would really appreciate it. I will leave it there. Have a great week, have a great summer, and I will see you in your next reading. Hello, Group 3, and welcome to your reading. You chose the 9 of Pentacles paired with the Tourmaline. Here we go. I'll just set this 9 of Pentacles right up here to look down over the rest of the reading. And the Tourmaline's up there. I've got the Squid Cake Tarot here. Let's give it a bit of a shuffle. I'm going to lay out a 9-card box spread, also called a portrait spread sometimes, to answer the question, what's coming up for you this summer 2025? And so since you chose 9 of Pentacles, it makes me think maybe you're working this summer, or maybe like the work you've been doing is about to pay off in a big way. You're about to get some big results. The 9 of Pentacles tends to be a very independent... Ooh, this one flipped. Okay. We will talk about that in a moment. The 9 of Pentacles tends to be someone who is very independent, who can do things on their own, who doesn't need anybody else. Doesn't mean they don't have anybody else, but like they'd be okay just fine and dandy on their own. Let's talk about this card that's popped up. The elephant in the room, the skeleton in the room. So it's card 13 of the Major Arcana, aka Death. And so transformation, or at a minimum, transition happening. Death means change. That's what this card means. And so I'm just going to prop it up right here next to the 9 of Pentacles, and we will have that in mind to inform the reading as we go forward. That probably this summer there's some change coming, right? And change can be tough, but it's necessary. There's no way to get through life without it, and it can be really good, right? Okay, so these are shuffled. Let's cut them, and we'll lay out 9 cards. And these are going to tell us about summer 2025. I'm going to read the corners first. Well, first I'll flip all the cards over fairly quickly, one at a time, just to get a sense of what they are. And then I'll read the corners to give us a context for the spread. I'll read the columns, and then we'll read the rows, and that should give us our reading. We'll pull some cards from the star spinner for clarifying whatever needs to be clarified. So we've got 8 of coins. Not too much to be surprised about there, since 9 of coins is the significator for the reading. 8 of coins is about putting in a lot of effort. Often can be about doing a repetitive task, like over and over and over again. Uniformity. Queen of coins, there's our first court card. 10 of coins, making money. I see you getting results or making money this summer. That's the first impression I get of the reading. The Hanged Man, maybe having to sacrifice in order to do it. The Fool, some new endeavor, maybe not paying total attention to possible risks. King of Batons, our next court card. Let's see, a leader. 2 of Cups, maybe a partnership, maybe a relationship. 7 Swords, focus, sharpness, independence. Ace of Coins, a sum of money, a new behavior, some practical results coming in. Okay, lots of things going through my mind right now. We're going to start with the corners because the corners are going to give us the context for the reading, and you'll see that 3 of the 4 corner cards are all coins, aka Pentacles, and 9 of Pentacles was the card that you chose for your significator. So whatever's happening this summer, the context is about money, resources, time, energy, well-being, right? Material stuff in the real world. It's not stuff in your mind, it's not stuff in your heart. It's not just what you're passionate about, it's like what actually is happening in the real world. So 8 of coins, as I said, is about doing some repetitive task over and over. Uniformly, you're really good at it. It's skilled labor, it's professional work. I would assume you probably have some kind of career that you are engaged in, and you're probably doing pretty well in that, because the next card to come up in the corner is the 10 of coins, which is the most coins that you can have in any one card, right? And so 10 of coins means not only do you have enough for yourself, but you have enough for other people too, right? And for each of you, this could be different, but this could be you've got enough sort of well-being to share with other people, or it could be you've got enough money to share with other people, or enough time, or whatever your resource is. It's increasing, right? And you've got enough of it, right? Like enough to leave a legacy, or for others to inherit would be the grand way of saying it, right? So like maybe you've made an investment of some kind and it's growing, right? We've got 2 of Cups down here, and it's the only cups that we're seeing anywhere. It's not the only water card. We do have other water cards. Death is water, Hanged Man is water. So there is some water going on here, but it's the only actual pip of water. And so I'm thinking about the way that the Hanged Man and Fool kind of form a pair of major arcana cards with figures on them, and the King of Batons, Queen of Coins form a pair of minor arcana cards with figures on them. And I'm thinking about that in relation to the 2 of Cups, and I'm thinking a partnership, like maybe a business partnership with someone else, or you're working closely with someone else in your job, your career. It could also relate to a relationship that doesn't have to do directly with career. or job or money or anything like that, but there's something here in the context about some other person who is going to be significant. And so we will elaborate on that in a moment. We're ending the last corner with the Ace of Coins. And so this is about big new potentials. Like, maybe it's two people starting a business together, going into business together, or starting a new job together. They're starting something new together that will have results, effects in the real world. They're going to make money from it, or it's going to make them feel really good about themselves. Some new good thing. Okay, so that's the corners. That gives us some context to start out with. Now we're going to read the columns, and we'll go left to right, past to future. And so since the whole reading is really about what's upcoming in the future, we'll do first column is beginning of the summer, middle is middle of the summer, right column is towards the end of the summer. So beginning of the summer, you're doing a lot of work, like at your job, or it could just be like around the house, that too. But something that's, you're good at it, but maybe it's getting a little boring, a little repetitive, because with the Hanged Man, it might feel like you're just kind of hanging around. Like there's not a lot of forward movement happening. And so maybe you're a little bored. You feel like you're sacrificing yourself to continue working on these Eight of Coins. And maybe that's getting kind of old, and you're starting to see things differently, and you probably want to make a change, right? Like, I don't think the Hanged Man probably wants to be hanging there forever, right? They want to go on to the next thing. And so this is where I'm going to pull in this Death card that popped out for us earlier. The Hanged Man is number 12 of the Major Arcana, and Death is number 13. And so a transformation or a transition from Hanged Man moving on to something else. Probably, I think, the Fool, but we'll get there in a moment. So you're hanging around. You feel a little bit like everything's monotonous, repetitive at the beginning of the summer. You want to make a change. And this partnership is going to open up for you in some way. Whether this is a new person who's coming into your life, or someone you already know, but you're now going to be relating to them in some new or different way. Any of that would be possible, and it's likely to come more on towards the beginning of the summer, right? So fairly soon, depending on when you're watching this. Maybe it's already happened if you're watching this like in the middle of summer. So coming to the middle of summer, we've got Queen of Coins. This is either you or it's the other person represented on the Two of Cups, and beginning something new, right? With the Fool, like going off on a new business venture. I'm thinking that because of all the coins that have shown up in the spread. This could be travel, right? The Fool is walking. They've got a walking stick. They're moving forward. And they also are maybe just a little bit naive about the challenges or risks or complications that could be coming up for them in whatever this new venture is, which I think is going to be fine. There's nothing here to suggest it's really going to be messed up. We'll talk about the Seven of Swords in just a moment. But like moving from the Hanged Man situation to the Fool situation, you're tired of hanging around upside down, and so you're ready to get on your feet, take a step forward, do something new, do something different. Even if you're not 100% confident or informed about what might happen, you don't really care, right? Like, you're like, sure, I guess something bad might happen, but you know what? I'm not hanging around here anymore. I'm not going to be upside down anymore. I'm just going to go, right? So that brings us to Seven of Swords in the middle of summer. And so other people may not understand why you're doing what you're doing. That's one way of reading the Seven of Swords. Other people don't get your behaviors. You're a weirdo. You don't make total sense to them, and that's okay. That doesn't mean stop. That might mean keep going, right? And the Seven of Swords can also represent being really focused, being really sharp, knowing that it's going to take a lot to manifest this thing, whatever this new thing is you're going to be doing this summer, but sticking with it, staying sharp, going forward, getting this sword in the middle to push through the mesh created by the other 6 swords on the card. Towards the end of the summer, we've got coins, coins, and more coins, right? 10 and 1, we've got 11. It's like whatever you're investing in is paying off in a pretty big way, right? I would be mostly inclined to think that the Queen of Coins probably represents you. And so I think the King of Baton, and I say that because you chose the Nine of Pentacles, another, coins card, another earth card, as the significator. And so that's why I'm more inclined to think that Queen of Coins is who you probably are. But I suppose that could vary depending on who each person who's watching this. And so I would think the King of Batons is this other person who's coming into your life, and that this person is going to help you sort of multiply your coins, right? Like earn more money or feel like you have a better sense of your own well-being. And the King of Batons or Wands in other decks, there's someone who is really driven, career driven especially. And so like a King of Batons and a Queen of Coins getting together could be a really good match. There's potential for conflict too, but a really good match because the King of Batons would sort of have the fire and the energy and the passion to get things going. And then the Queen of Coins would have the practicality to make sure that it follows through. Because the problem that you can come up sometimes with the court cards from the Wands suit is they're good at starting things, but not always good at finishing them. But a figure from the coin suit is good at finishing them, right? They're really good at that. And so that would be one way in which these two folks would get along really well with each other, and have great potential for really good new things coming up with the Ace of Coins, right? The Ace of Coins is about your garden growing, like great new potential and I say well-being, but what I mean is like your health, your home, your life, right? Having really good potential for growth and stability there, right? Groundedness there. So let's look now at the rows. And so we'll read the top row as what you're thinking about, what's sort of conscious to you. The middle row as what's staring you in the face, what's happening. And then the bottom row will read as underlying motivations, what may be unconscious or unknown that's driving the situation, but you're maybe not totally aware of it, okay? So top, we've got 8 coins, and then the Queen of Coins is adding to those coins, leaving us with 10. That's really straightforward. She's investing, she's growing, she's planning, she's getting results, right? We'd love to see that in this reading. In the middle row, we've got this feeling of kind of hanging around, feeling like you've sacrificed something, you're not totally satisfied, other people maybe aren't getting you, they're not seeing your perspective on things, and so you're feeling like it's time to make a new way forward, maybe a little bit foolishly, maybe a little naively even, but great potential here, very much like what we would see with an ace down in the corner, leading to this other person represented by the King of Batons. I will say that reading the images on the Fool and King of Batons, I see someone who is standing, who is walking. I guess let's read the whole row. Someone who's upside down, right? Who stands up, grabs their walking stick and says, okay, let's go forward. But there's this little squid tentacle which is holding them back and maybe is about to trip them, right? And so I imagine that they do maybe fall or stumble a little bit. And so they have to sit down for a moment and just take a little breather, take a little rest before they keep going forward. And so I think this situation is the one I want to read about with the clarifier cards from the Star Spinner Tarot. And so we'll do that in just a second. But, this is also making me think that let's see, that, well, let's leave it for the Star Spinner Tarot. Let's see what the cards actually say and not have me just mix stuff up. Okay, bottom row, Two of Cups to Seven of Swords. Two people who are really focusing on something together. They're being sharp together. Other people may not understand what it is that they're doing, but they are focusing really hard on getting this new Ace of Coins thing off the ground, getting it going. It's got a lot of potential, and they're investing themselves in it heavily. Because this is the bottom row, we should be thinking about what is unknown. And so what's probably unknown is with, the Seven of Swords can also represent deception, or that someone is not telling 100% totally the truth, that they're prevaricating a little bit, right? That they're doing something behind other people's backs, that they're not totally being 100% honest. And they might have really good reasons for doing that. But that would be one thing to watch out for. Seeing this card at the bottom row where it's, what do you not know? You may not totally know that not everything is being totally 100% explicitly voiced, right, out loud. Okay, I want to know more about the King of Batons. That's what I want to know. So let's pull the Star Spinner Tarot out. And I want to know what's going on with this King of... Ooh, fell out. Top card fell right off. 3 coins. Let's put that here. Let's put it here. Because I had just asked, as soon as I said King of Batons, this card fell out. 3 coins, so that's working together, that's growing. It's another coins card too. Okay, so now let's give these a little shuffle, and I'm gonna pull 3 cards, and these 3 cards are going to just describe what's happening with this King of Batons person, and what does it have to do with 3 coins? King of Batons, 3 coins. All right. Three Swords. So learning, this could be learning, but it does make me think back to the Seven of Swords too. Eight Wands, busy, 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 things happening quickly, making decisions. And 3 Cups, friendship. So 3 coins, 3 cups makes me think you're working together, but you're also, there's either a relationship developing between you, right? Like a romantic relationship, or a deep friendship. That is possible too. So what's going on with King of Batons? You may be learning something through this person or via your interactions with this person, learning something that helps you understand your heart better, right? 3 is about growth. Swords are the mind. Growth of the mind is learning, and the swords are piercing the heart. So it might be a bit of could be a tough thing to learn or not. It doesn't have to be, this card doesn't have to be about heartbreak, right? It can be about heartbreak. Although I feel like there's other cards I'd want to see here for that to happen. And I'm not seeing them. So things happening very quickly with this person, building, working together, following the rules, following regulations, being pretty busy, but also growing, growing emotionally. 3's again growth, this time with chalices, growing emotions or growing a relationship. So I think this is someone that you will learn something from, that you will work very busily with on whatever it is you're doing together. Wands could also mean passion. So if this is a romantic thing, then maybe there's a lot of passion in the relationship. But it's not just that, right? With the Three of Chalices, I would think it's also a really good friendship too. And so this seems like someone who you have a very practical, like maybe business minded relationship with that is turning into something more. You're learning that it's more than just practical. It's at least a deep friendship and maybe even greater than just a friendship, right? Okay, I'll leave it there. Let me know which of these cards resonated with you, what struck a chord. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to help me grow this channel. I'd really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day and a fantastic summer, and I will see you in your next reading.